And this view that you're seeing here is from the station, from the Node 2 docking port. That Dragon is currently approaching.
This is really our first view of both of them in the same picture, so it gives you a good perspective on how close they're getting to each other.
Yeah, you can see in that left-hand bottom corner, that is the station, and that white dot on your right, on the right side of your screen, is Dragon slowly approaching. We're just under 5 minutes away from waypoint 1. We're under 280 meters away from the station.
A little more of what we can look for once we do get that go to move past waypoint 2, the 20-meter point. Of course, we're going to reach waypoint 1 first, so we have a couple of steps before this, but we will take about 5 minutes to get in toward the station from waypoint 2. And after that 5 minutes, we'll hear the chop call, and we will be looking for soft capture first. There are also rotary spring dampers that will soften the contact from Crew Dragon to the International Space Station, and that soft capture ring will then begin retracting. It'll retract until sensors indicate it's time for these hooks to drive and create a hard capture, and that will firmly secure Dragon to station. The hook driving can take about 5 minutes, and the hard mate of Dragon to station can take about 3 minutes. That means a full seal will be achieved with 12 hard capture hooks.
This is Station 2. I see good RPOP data on SSC4. Thanks. Copy, Kate. Thanks.
We are just about 30 minutes or so from docking, with currently Dragon approaching waypoint 1. Waypoint 1 is approximately 220 meters away from station.
And you heard Kate Rubens, who is monitoring this mission and the arrival of Crew Dragon. She discussed, she used the term RPOP, that stands for Rendezvous and Proximity Ops Program, and so that is giving her insight into Dragon's position and how it's moving in toward the International Space Station. She'll have some work to do once Dragon arrives, but not until it gets there. But once Dragon arrives, the Node 2 hatch where they're docking is currently closed on the station side.
Dragon SpaceX on the Big Loop, approach 1 and soft capture ring extension will begin shortly. Dragon will continue approach to waypoint 2.
Okay, Dragon copies. Soft capture ring will start here in approach 1.
Crystal clear view of Dragon as they get the words that everything is still looking good with the systems, and they will be moving through waypoint 1 to waypoint 2, and that they can expect that soft capture ring we were discussing to extend, begin preparing them for docking.
We're about 240 meters away, so we're just about a minute away from passing through waypoint 1. And we're so close that you could see the forward bulkhead thrusters on Dragon there. It's basically those four kind of circles that you see in the ring where the nose cone is open on the top of Dragon there.
Dragon continuing its slow and steady approach to the International Space Station. Every single maneuver very deliberate when we have two vehicles this close in space. about 226 meters away.
Again, what you're seeing on your screen, on your left-hand screen, is the view from the International Space Station looking at Dragon. On your right-hand screen, that is a camera view.
Dragon, SpaceX on the Big Loop. Expect reconfiguration of the C2V2 return link shortly.
CAG copies.
And we have passed waypoint 1, Dragon, now about 213 meters away from the International Space Station. We also just heard the Corps speaking with Crew Dragon to expect a reconfiguration of C2V2. That stands for Common Communications for Visiting Vehicles. It establishes bidirectional communications between Crew Dragon and the International Space Station.
Now we've passed through waypoint 1, so we're about 10 minutes away from waypoint 2. Once we approach waypoint 2, then we will do a go, no go poll for docking. So we're, again, around 30 minutes away from docking here, depending on the timeline, when we reach each one of these points. We're on our way to waypoint 2, which will bring us about 20 meters in front of the space station.
We moved right through waypoint 1, right through the keep out sphere, that 200-meter invisible line around the International Space Station that helps flight controllers monitor visiting spacecraft. But we will have to hold at waypoint 2, that 20-meter mark. They'll conduct their final checks, prepare for arrival at the International Space Station. A very clear view from Crew Dragon.
That looks incredible. Again, this is a view looking at Dragon from station from the Node 2 forward port that Dragon will be docking to today.
Houston Station on Space to Ground 2 in step 2 of 1.104. I've just commanded. On RPOP reference frame to destination docking port, and I see RPOP not receiving Dragon 2 data.
Copy all, Kate, we're checking.
Flight teams in Mission Control Houston continuing to check that RPOP Rendezvous Proximity Operations program.
Station Houston 2, we're going to reset RPOP one more time for you, see if that works.
Thank you.
They're resetting some of that data for Kate Rubins. A reminder, she is not commanding any part of Dragon's arrival. She is monitoring it, though, and so looking for some of that data in that program.
Again, we are on our way to waypoint 2, which will be 20 meters away from the station. Once we reach waypoint 2, the vehicle will focus on aligning its docking system with the docking adapter, so preparing for docking, and there will be a go, no go poll prior to initiating that soft capture approach.
Here's that same view we were looking at earlier, and you can see even how much closer Crew Dragon has gotten in just the short time since we last received it, having moved through waypoint 1 since that time period. A little bit more about what Kate Rubins will be doing once Crew Dragon docks. As we mentioned, the Node 2 hatch is closed during the docking, the station side Node 2 hatch. Kate Rubins will check for a leak and then open it for access to the pressurized mating adapter 2. She'll also manually pressurize the vestibule. That's the area between the A-Pass hatch, which is on the station side, and the Crew Dragon hatch. The A-Pass hatch is what is currently exposed to the vacuum of space. It also has a docking target on it that allows Dragon to align itself with the port. Once that pressurization is complete, Kate Rubins will be able to open the A-Pass hatch to let some air in. It's a slow process. She'll be opening a valve specifically on the A-Pass hatch to let that air in. And we'll hold for thermal stabilization before we do some leak checks in the vestibule. We want to make sure that there aren't any fluctuating temperatures that are giving us misleading signals on what the pressure is in the vestibule. We'll conduct the leak check for that space between those two hatches. In the meantime, the crew is doffing and drying and stowing their suits during that thermal stabilization and leak check. They're stowing their equipment. Kate will open the A-Pass hatch and remove the docking target. Almost 2 hours post-docking, these checks are taking place during that time. We will look for Dragon's hatch to be opened.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. C2V2 link reconfiguration is complete. The soft capture ring extension is also complete. We are planning to hold momentarily at waypoint 2. At that point, we will be asking for your input on lighting conditions and your go to proceed. Do remember that your visors are not required to be down until our final approach.
Okay, Dragon copies all, and we'll be holding momentarily at waypoint 2, and we will give you a good lighting check at that point.
So as you heard, we are on our way to waypoint 2, which will be 20 meters away from station, and we will hold and do some checks, do a go, no go poll to ensure that we are okay to approach for docking. And we did hear confirmation that the soft capture ring is extended and ready for that docking.
A few minutes ago, we heard them discussing C2V2 common communications for visiting vehicles. They said they would reconfigure that system and just got good confirmation that it has been reconfigured. That's those bi-directional communications between station and Crew Dragon.
Station Houston on 2 for Kate. We're still troubleshooting the RPOP issue you're having, so we're coming on board on SSC 17 and we'll try to fix that.
All right, you are welcome to SSC 17 and also SSC for the main RPOP computer.
Copy all, we'll get it working.
Mission Control Houston checking back in with Kate Rubins aboard the station, who is working to monitor Crew Dragon's arrival. As we mentioned, she is not commanding anything that Crew Dragon is doing, and neither are the crew themselves. This is completely autonomous, but she is trying to monitor some of that data, and so team members in Mission Control Houston are going to try and reconfigure the RPOP system, Rendezvous and Proximity Operations Program, from the ground.
You can see on your screen, again, this is a view from station from the Node 2 port that Dragon will be docking to. You can see the sunlight hitting Dragon as it gets closer and closer.
starting to get a little bit darker outside as well. That's because the International Space Station and Crew Dragon are approaching an orbital nighttime. They are in daylight for 45 minutes and nighttime for 45 minutes, circling the globe every 90 minutes. They're currently flying 260 statute miles over the Pacific Ocean. You're looking at a live view of Mission Control Hawthorne here at SpaceX headquarters in California. And if you noticed, we have lost video temporarily of Crew Dragon as it's approaching the International Space Station, but that's really no surprise to us. It's something called a TDRS handover, Tracking Data and Relay Satellite System. Teams on the ground are able to track when the space station and Crew Dragon will be moving in and out of these handover periods. And we expect to regain video communications with the space station very shortly. In the meantime, it continues. Crew Dragon continues its approach to Waypoint 2. And we have those views back already. As you mentioned, Jesse, you can really see those 4 forward bulkhead thrusters the closer we get.
Oh, wow, and you can really see the detail on the International Space Station with how close we are. We're approaching Waypoint 2, which will be 20 meters in front of the station. That's why you could see it so close up in that last view.
Azaram.
Station Houston on Space Ground 2 for Kate.
Again, 2.
All right, Kate, SSC-17 is back up and running for you. We're working on 4 now. In addition, let us know when your review is complete and you are ready for docking.
Copy, and I saw SSC working. It's giving me good range and range rate. Now I've got another, our POP is not receiving Dragon 2 data from PCS message on 17.
Copy that, Kate. We'll take a look. Thanks for the extra info.
We've now reached Waypoint 2, so we are holding this position. Going to do some
And I do have a good Dragon docking system view on SSC-17 for the Dragon docking streaming monitor, and I have a good out the window view, so I am comfortable and my review is complete.
Copy all. Thank you.
Great news from Kate Rubins. She has the data she's looking for and a great view of Crew Dragon out the window as well. So she's given her go for them to depart Waypoint 2 and move into the International Space Station. As a reminder, we moved directly through Waypoint 1, which put us directly in front of the docking port. You can see it right here. That's the Node 2 forward port where Dragon docked during Demo 1 and Demo 2.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. The ground is go for approach 2. At this point, please confirm that the lighting conditions are acceptable to proceed, and let us know if you are go for approach 2 and docking.
Okay, SpaceX, this is Dragon on the big loop. So the lighting is actually getting worse. We do have a view of the IDA, but we do not have a view of the docking target.
In Dragon SpaceX, we copy. We are 6 minutes from sunset. Would you like to hold for those 6 minutes, or do you feel comfortable proceeding?
Bye. And SpaceX from Dragon, we'll go ahead and hold for those 6 minutes if we can.
We copy hold.
Crew Dragon crew has opted to hold at waypoint 2 for the time being so they can get some better views of the docking port, the docking target on that A-Pass hatch we were discussing that's on the International Space Station. So they can hold here, and that will give them the opportunity for sunset to come over both the International Space Station and Crew Dragon. There won't be any odd shadows, and they should have better visibility. Of course, the crew themselves are not making this maneuver in toward the International Space Station. It is autonomous. Crew Dragon will be doing it by itself, but we want the crew to be able to see the docking target so that they can properly monitor as the vehicle continues to make its approach to Node 2.
And the ground is go for docking, but we are just waiting for us to get a little bit more light so that Dragon can actually see where it is going to autonomously dock, see the target on Node 2 as it approaches so it can make that soft capture accurately.
We're in another one of those satellite handovers we just discussed as well. We should get video communications. Oh, right there. Coming back, and as we mentioned, Dragon is holding at waypoint 2. That's 20 meters away from the International Space Station. They are holding until we reach sunset and orbital nighttime for the spacecraft. Once that happens, they will proceed in toward Node 2. It should take about 5 minutes.
And as a reminder, waypoint 2 is about 20 meters away from station. We are on the docking axis, and Dragon will be aligning itself with that docking port. We're just holding for some sunlight.
This hold continuing for another few minutes. The space station has crossed the terminator line, the difference in day and nighttime on Earth. They are east of Hawaii right now in the Pacific Ocean, and they are waiting for the sun to set on orbit. Crew Dragon will be able to use its infrared camera to spot that docking target on the A-Pass hatch on Node 2, and then they'll be able to proceed, leaving waypoint 2, making their 5-minute journey approximately to docking.
And I should correct what I mentioned earlier. They're waiting for the sun to go down so that they don't have any shadows, so that Dragon can actually see clearly and locate, align itself with that docking port.
As a reminder, we had a confirmation that the soft capture ring extended. That'll be the first part of capture. The soft capture ring. There are also rotary spring dampers that will soften the contact once Dragon's soft capture ring comes in contact with the International Space Station, and then the ring will retract until sensors indicate it'll be time for hooks to drive. We're looking for 12 hooks, 2 different gangs of 6, to firmly secure Dragon to the International Space Station. That entire process from contact to hard capture can take about 13 minutes. We'll be standing by the entire time to make sure all of that goes smoothly, but everything looking good right now for Crew Dragon, still holding about 20 meters away from the International Space Station. And it looks like we might be about a minute away from sunset. So we should be hearing that call that they're ready to proceed. Again, there's no rush. And there's also no need for the crew to fly Dragon. This is all happening autonomously. Just a few more seconds until sunset. And you can see it did get quite a bit darker. And that flash on the Node 2 docking port coming from Crew Dragon. I do like the crew to be able to see this docking, even though it's autonomous. That helps them monitor where they're at and take control if need be. However, all of Dragon's systems looking good, and we're just standing by for that departure from waypoint 2, 20 meters away from the International Space Station.
We are currently go on the ground for docking, but we are waiting for the crew to confirm if they are ready. We are waiting for the crew to confirm.
From Dragon on the big loop. Looks to us like we've gone through sunset, and we got the lights strobing. We can see the target, and so we are going to proceed. Visors are down.
Copy. You are go to proceed and visors are down. That's great to hear. We will be commanding the resume shortly. And as a reminder, once Dragon is inside the crew hands-off point, retreat and breakout are not permitted.
And copies all.
Copies all. I'm ready.
We've got confirmation that we have go from the crew. So they will be starting this procedure shortly. We'll start approaching that docking adapter that you see on your screen. Once we get close enough, we will do a soft capture, followed by the insertion of the pins for the hard capture.
We also heard the core mention once that we reach the crew hands-off point, that's the chop call we'll hear. Retreat and breakout are not permitted. And that would be from the crew. The vehicle can still abort if necessary, but as we said, everything continuing to look good for Crew Dragon, ready to depart waypoint 2. The final approach has begun. Crew Dragon moving in toward the International Docking Adapter on Node 2. Kate Rubin standing by on the International Space Station, monitoring their approach.
And this should only take approximately 5 minutes. It's not too long.
Their arrival at the International Space Station today will be coming about 27 and a half hours since their liftoff last night at 7:27 p.m. Eastern Time from Kennedy Space Center in Florida aboard a Falcon 9 rocket.
We are now about 15 meters away, just about 3 minutes from docking.
Very slow, deliberate, steady movements for Crew Dragon making its way to the International Space Station. We'll be looking for soft capture first, with the soft capture ring already extended. Once we have soft capture, the ring will retract and bring us into a hard capture. That should take about 13 minutes for that entire process, firmly securing us to the International Space Station. And then we'll move into leak checks.
And SpaceX from Dragon on the big loop, we show 10 meters. We've got good lighting, good visuals.
Great to hear. We see 10 meters as well.
Even though it looks very slow right now, Both Dragon and the International Space Station are traveling about 17,500 miles an hour over Earth right now, both about 262 statute miles over the planet. We heard just a few moments ago, too, that the crew had reached 10 meters away from the International Space Station, so already halfway there from waypoint 2. But only about a little over a minute from docking.
You can see on those display panels the crew watching as they approach that node, port 2. And what you can see directly in the center of the docking adapter, that is the APAS hatch. Once we do a hard capture and do leak checks, that will be the first hatch that will open, followed by the Dragon hatch.
If you look closely in the center at the very bottom, there was Chop, crew hands-off point, standing by for contact.
Dragon SpaceX, soft capture confirmed.
Dragon copies, and we see the same.
As you heard that call out, soft capture is now complete. Next will be hard capture. This is where the pins will insert themselves into that docking adapter and create a hard lock.
And we had that soft capture at 8:01 p.m. Pacific time, 11:01 p.m. Eastern time. Crew Dragon and the International Space Station flying 262 statute miles over Idaho.
Dragon SpaceX, soft capture ring retraction in progress.
That call confirming just what we're looking to hear. The soft capture ring is retracting. We're looking for sensors to indicate it'll be time for hooks to drive, create that firm hold on Crew Dragon. So this can take several minutes, maybe about 10 to 13 minutes. But slow and steady wins the race. Crew Dragon is now at the International Space Station. This view over the shoulder of our commander and our pilot Mike Hopkins and Victor Glover. They are watching this all unfold via these 3 displays.
We've got some.
So once again, we had contact, soft capture confirmed at the International Space Station for Crew Dragon at 8:01 p.m. Pacific time, 11:01 p.m. Eastern time. Both vehicles were flying 262 statute miles over Idaho. We're now in the soft capture ring retract period. We'll be looking for that ring to retract fully. These sensors will indicate that we are ready to firmly connect with the International Space Station. That's called the hard capture. And that means it'll be time after that to begin leak checks, suit doffing or taking off their suits for the crew, eventually hatch opening. So all those steps might take a couple of hours, but we will be here for their first, I can't say steps inside the space station, for their first floats inside the space station. Heard the soft capture ring retract is complete. And MCS stands for Motion Control System. We are handing off from the Russian thrusters to the U.S. gyroscopes. The other voice you heard was that of NASA astronaut Kate Rubins monitoring the arrival of her 4 new crewmates inside Crew Dragon. Everything's still going smoothly. We're currently awaiting that hard capture to be complete. As we mentioned, it can take about 10 minutes. Confirmation, we are now on gyroscopes on the
Dragon End station on the big loop, MCS configured, proceeding with hook driving.
Yeah, Dragon copies. Good news.
Copies, thanks.
Good news indeed. MCS, the motion control system configuration is complete. We have now moved to those gyroscopes instead of Russian thrusters, meaning the hard capture sequence has begun.
The hooks are currently driving into place to give us that hard capture. Once we do have that hard capture, though, it will take some time before we can open the hatches. They will perform some leak checks to make sure that it is safe to open both the APAS hatch and the Dragon hatch. That could take up to about an hour after hard capture is complete.
We were initially discussing, looked like we might have an 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific time docking, and we did have that contact and capture coming at 8:01 p.m. Pacific time. So very close, and that was even with us holding for a little bit to allow the crew some better visibility. Hard capture sequence now underway, and we're standing by for that confirmation. I know the astronauts have to be loving looking at all of this data. Tons of excitement. I know they've enjoyed their ride in Crew Dragon. They were having so much fun during the broadcast, but I can only imagine their excitement to be at the International Space Station now.
Now they're right there. Hard capture coming to a closure in a few minutes. Then they'll be able to start getting out of their suits again that they put on just for this approach period. We've got confirmation that the first 6 hooks are complete and closed.
Ground 2, let me know if you're go for 1.403, monitoring tools tear down.
Houston copies, Kate. We'll be ready shortly. We'll let you know.
As I was mentioning, those first 6 hooks are now complete and closed. The next 6 are on their way to complete this hard capture. Crew patiently waiting and watching and monitoring on their 3 display panels there.
We also heard from Kate Rubins on the station side, asking if it was time for her to deconstruct her monitoring system where she's been watching the approach. Ground teams will let her know whenever they're ready for that.
Again, hard capture is underway. Once hard capture is complete, they will perform some leak checks prior to opening up the A-Pass hatch. Once the A-Pass hatch is open, they'll perform some more checks to make sure that it is okay to open the Dragon hatch. And in the meantime,
Dragon SpaceX hard capture complete.
Dragon copies.
and there we heard the confirmation that hard capture is complete.
Dragon is officially attached to the International Space Station after arriving at 8:01 p.m. Pacific Time, 11:01 p.m. Eastern Time.
27.5 journey to station since launch yesterday at 7:27 p.m. Eastern Time. How exciting. The crew must be so excited now that they're going to start doing the process of doing leak checks before they open those hatches. But they'll start taking off their suits and getting ready to enter the space station.
Station Houston on 2, you are go for tool teardown.
Copy, go, thanks.
That's the call Kate Rubins was looking for. She is good to tear down her station. She was monitoring the arrival of Crew Dragon. And things will be picking up inside the space station for her. She's getting the hatch on the station side ready to be opened. She'll also start pressurizing that area known as the vestibule between Dragon and the station hatches. And we are waiting for the umbilicals to connect Crew Dragon to the International Space Station. This will allow Crew Dragon to use the space station's power, audio, and data connections.
Resilience SpaceX docking sequence is complete. Welcome to the ISS, Resilience.
And SpaceX, this is Resilience. Excellent job right down the center. SpaceX and NASA, congratulations. This is a new era of operational flights to the International Space Station from the Florida coast. And ISS, Sergey, and Kate, we'll see you real soon.
日本の皆様、クルードラゴン運用初号機、無事に ISS にドッキングしました。国際パートナーの一員として、民間宇宙船のドッキング成功に立ち会えてとても幸せです。我々レジリエンスクルーは、訓練の間、そして打ち上がった後も、様々な困難な状況に直面しましたが、全集中で乗り切ってきました。 これから半年間の宇宙滞在も皆さんと感動を分かち合いましょう。All for one, crew one for all.
Brazilian Station, welcome to the ISS. We can't wait to have you on board.
Spectacular job, Resilience. On behalf of all the flight controllers around the world, welcome aboard as we embark on 7-person crew operations and more milestones ahead for the station.
And with that, ground will be enabling hardline power and comm connection shortly. You are go to doff your suits per procedure 4.012. We will configure video to go external momentarily, and we'll let you know when it's ready.
Okay, SpaceX ANO from Dragon, we copy 4.012 and standing by for the cameras.
And Dragon SpaceX on the big loop, cameras are external.
And Dragon copies 4.012, suit docking inward.
Heard some clapping here in Hawthorne at SpaceX headquarters, and even saw a little bit of celebration aboard Crew Dragon. Once it was confirmed hard capture was complete, Dragon was attached to the International Space Station. And then an amazing reminder just how important it is and how international the International Space Station is. Words from Soichi Noguchi, the first international partner to fly aboard a commercial crew vehicle from the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency.
What an amazing, amazing journey this has been. I can't believe that they are there now, officially docked to the space station. So excited to see them get out of their suits and eventually get on station. But now that Dragon has completed the docking sequence, the spacecraft must undergo a handful of checks before we will be able to open the hatch. The crew on board Dragon will now get a chance to get out of their suits before moving into the hatch operations, which is why they're getting some privacy on Dragon right now.
Yeah, that's right. We heard that call for external cameras. And as we also heard, Kate Rubins got the go to take down the station she was monitoring the Crew Dragon arrival from, and she is also getting things ready on the station side to welcome her new crewmates aboard. She's going to be getting the hatch ready to be opened on the station side. That's the Node 2 hatch. And then pressurizing that area known as the vestibule between Dragon and the station hatches. And the station hatch that we're looking at for that vestibule area is the A-Pass hatch. We had a great view of that as Crew Dragon was flying in. We also saw that little docking target for which Crew Dragon was able to align. And Kate Rubins will pressurize that hatch. We'll have a thermal stabilization period as well. And this means we will pause for a while as we begin to do leak checks. We want to make sure that there's no fluctuation in temperature that can make it look like there's a fluctuation in pressure. So we'll be pausing for about 30 minutes for that. And once it evens out, Kate Rubins will open up that hatch. She'll remove the docking target. And then it'll be a short matter of time before we see our Crew Dragon crew enter their new home aboard the International Space Station.
Yes, very exciting. So let's go to Brandy Dean for a refresher on what's ahead now that Dragon is docked.
Yeah, it's so great to see Dragon. They're docked on the end of the Harmony node and ready for the new joint expedition to begin. What better way to celebrate 20 years of continuous human presence in space than by adding a 7th crew member to the long-duration crew on board the space station, allowing them to do more work and more science. But before we do get to that, we do have to get them on the other side of the hatch, and that is what is ahead of us for tonight now at this point. That is still a little ways off because it does take a little bit of time to get all these hatches open. There's more than one, in fact. When Kate Rubins gets the go from the team here on the ground, she will be doing a short check of the pressurization inside the pressurized mating adapter. That is the tunnel that basically connects now the Harmony node to the Dragon. Assuming that looks good, and it should only take a minute or so, that will be opened, and then she can start the next step, which will take a little longer. The small area between the hatch on the space station and the Dragon has been exposed to the vacuum of space until now, so it needs to be filled with air, and that takes a little while. Kate Rubins will be working on that for the next hour and a half or so, but after that, we will be able to see all the crew members together for the first time, which we were really looking forward to. But we'll keep following along in the meantime, and for now, I'll pass it back to you guys in Hawthorne. Thanks.
Thanks, Brandy. So exciting. We're getting very, very close. It's been such an amazing journey since launch yesterday at 7:27 p.m. Eastern Time. We watched them from the beginning, from them suiting up, making their way to the pad, riding the fixed service structure, ingressing on Dragon, getting into their seats, getting strapped in, liftoff at 7:27 p.m. Eastern Time with a safe ride from Falcon, separating Dragon into orbit.
It's an absolutely amazing journey there. That's the only word I can think of right now. And
Right.
27 and a half hours later, it almost doesn't even feel like that long. So I hope that they've had a good ride in Dragon. It was amazing to see Crew Dragon earlier, that they were able to take us inside, give us a little bit of a tour. And then it had those 5 major burns. You know, we had one last night. The crew got some sleep. And we had the rest today. We also added in a few additional maneuvers in there, or I should say the Dragon computer added those maneuvers in there just to keep us on the right trajectory, and obviously it did a great job. Crew Dragon arrived at the International Space Station at 8:01 p.m. Pacific Time, 11:01 p.m. Eastern Time. And this view coming from inside the International Space Station, looking at the Node 2 hatch, this is what Kate Rubins will open shortly, and then begin pressurizing the vestibule, that area between those 2 hatches that Brandy Dean was telling us about.
This is so exciting. It's been a long journey, but so worth it. They made it to the station safely. Can't wait for them to get through these next few processes, do the leak checks, and make sure everything is safe to open those hatches. And then watch as the crew members, the Crew 1 crew members, board the International Space Station.
And it looks quiet in there right now and empty, but in just over an hour and a half, maybe we will see probably 7 people crammed into this small space, hugging and welcoming each other to the International Space Station. We're keeping an eye on Crew Dragon and on the International Space Station as they continue these checks. Crew Dragon crew members will begin doffing their suits here soon. Kate Rubins will get to work on the station side, opening this hatch, conducting leak checks, pressurizing the vestibule, and eventually welcoming our crew members on board.
We will have a welcome ceremony, so stay tuned with us. We will stay live.
Yes, and we will definitely stay live as we move through all of these checks. We'll keep you updated as they progress, and you'll get to watch the crew members float through, making their home on the International Space Station for the next 6 months.
Dragon SpaceX on the Big Loop. ISS power connection is established.
Dragon copies. Good news.
Station Houston on space to ground 2 for ingress part 1.
Copy, and waiting on your go.
And you are go in both steps 1.1 and 2.2.
We go in 1.1 and 2.2 in work.
That is Kate Rubins aboard the International Space Station, stepping through the procedures to bring Crew Dragon on board. And the hatch she just opened obviously is on the station side of Node 2. That is the pressurized mating adapter hatch. She's got several more steps on her side to go. Meanwhile, the crew aboard Crew Dragon will be doffing their suits or taking them off, drying and stowing them. They'll also be stowing any of the equipment that they used.
Station on Space to Ground 2, the Node 2 forward hatch is open and the MPEV is uncapped. In step 1.2 and 1.3, there was no delta P drop.
Copy all.
And that was Kate just confirming that that hatch is now open.
And she is speaking with the Capcom in Mission Control Houston. The Capcom stands for Capsule Communicator. That's a term from back in the days when we were just flying capsules. And then, of course, we moved to the Space Shuttle program, not necessarily a capsule. And here we are in a capsule again. However, Capcom is the person that speaks with the astronauts aboard the International Space Station. They relay everything that's happening on the ground to the crew members. This keeps them from getting too much information coming from too many different directions. You see Kate Rubins ingressing the pressurized mating adapter. She'll also need to conduct, she'll need to pressurize the vestibule. That's the next hatch. That's the space between Crew Dragon and the International Space Station, that vestibule area. And the APAS hatch was what was exposed to the vacuum of space prior to Crew Dragon's arrival, so we want to make that the same pressure as what's inside Crew Dragon and the space station.
Looks pretty easy to get around in the space station. See her gliding around as she's grabbing some of her tools.
Kate will begin opening a valve on the APAS hatch to slowly let air in, pausing along the way. And we'll also do a thermal stabilization, making sure that the temperature isn't changing in that vestibule area, giving us signals that are changing when it comes to the pressure we want to see inside. So we'll end up pausing for about 30 minutes to make sure that is leveled out. Eventually, Kate Rubins will open up the APAS hatch, remove the docking target that we saw as Crew Dragon was flying in. That's what the vehicle uses to align with the International Space Station. She will stow that docking target, and then it'll be time for our crew aboard Crew Dragon to ingress the space station.
What a cool view we are getting here from the space station, looking out at Dragon attached to that Node 2 port.
It's also a good view of the trunk of Dragon, and you can see those solar arrays, or they're not really arrays, they're solar cells, and they're wrapped around the body of Dragon. That's the
Station on Space to Ground 2 in step 2.4 at 0438. APAS equalization valve is closed after 75 seconds of open.
Copy all, Kate. We see good vestibule pressurization.
And I would put a warning there, or at least a note for the crew about how loud that was.
We copy, Kate.
Didn't sound like
like that in training in Houston. We'll have to beef up our simulators. Yeah, suck some air out of the room.
Kate Rubins is talking with our Capcom Megan Levins, who is a trainer. She was saying that letting that air into the vestibule was a little bit louder than she expected it to be. But she did let in 75 seconds of air, beginning to pressurize the vestibule, that space between the A-Pass hatch on the station and the Crew Dragon hatch. As we were discussing, though, you can see those solar cells on the top half of Dragon on the trunk. That's the black section. It's allowed Dragon to gather energy from the sun on its journey to the International Space Station. Meanwhile, on the bottom half of the trunk, the white side is a thermal radiator. It can help keep Dragon cool. However, Crew Dragon, now being attached to the International Space Station, is running on space station power rather than any power of its own.
And as we're getting ready for these hatches to be open, Dragon will actually use sensors on board Dragon to check the pressure inside of the vestibule before we open up that Dragon hatch.
This all comes again after Crew Dragon's contact with the International Space Station happening tonight at 8:01 p.m. Pacific time.
Dragon Houston on Space to Ground 2. We will be transitioning audio, so you will be down comm for just a few minutes.
Dragon copy.
The Houston team letting Crew Dragon crew know they're reconfiguring to different audio configurations, and they'll regain communications with them shortly. As we saw earlier, the crew asked that the cameras inside be made external so we wouldn't get any interior views of Crew Dragon. That's because they will be doffing their suits, getting back into those comfortable clothes, preparing to ingress or enter the International Space Station once all of this pressurization of the vestibule and leak checks are complete.
And SpaceX is the Dragon on Dragon and ground. We still got you. Hey, just want to give you a heads up, 5 Alpha, decimal 5, suit drying is started for all 4 suits. Okay, copy that. 4 decimal 400, 1 through 3, and more.
So it sounds like the crew is out of their suits now, and they are now drying those suits. And if you are just now joining us, Dragon is now hard captured to the International Space Station. Kate Rubins is helping to get the vestibule ready and to the and prepared for hatch opening.
We also saw Kate Rubins Getting that ready on the station side, she's already opened the pressurized mating adapter hatch. That's the hatch on the station side of Node 2.
And what you could see on your screen is Mission Control here in Hawthorne, California. They are getting together. They just got together for a group photo in celebration of this amazing Crew 1 mission. A lot of hard work put into this mission. So definitely want to capture that moment.
Absolutely. And right back to their stations they go, still monitoring the vehicle. It has been 27.5 hours, maybe actually a little bit longer now. Of course, the teams rotate out every 8 or 9 hours to keep them fresh. But a lot of work put in on both the NASA and SpaceX sides to make this happen today, bringing the first long-duration crew to the International Space Station.
And so exciting. Very close for the crew to enter station. We're just getting prepared, making sure that the hatch, the leak checks are complete before we open up the hatches and let the crew on board. Crew's already out of their suits. They're getting comfortable and getting ready to board the International Space Station.
We'll also be anticipating a welcome ceremony later tonight for the crew once they ingress the International Space Station. We'll get to watch them greet all of their colleagues currently aboard, and then we will see them speak with the ground for a little while as well. We've talked about a lot of firsts on this mission. As we mentioned, this is the first 4-person capsule space flight ever, and it will also become the longest flight of a crewed U.S. capsule. The previous record was Skylab 4, and that was in 1973. It lasted for 84 days.
Wow, that's a pretty long journey. Right now on your screen, if you're just now joining us, you are looking at a live view of Dragon docked to the International Space Station. The crew still inside Dragon, preparing for hatch opening. They're out of their suits now, getting into some more comfortable clothes. Their suits are currently drying. And depending on how long these processes take for the leak checks and pressurization of the vestibule, the crew will be boarding shortly, and we'll be having a welcome ceremony.
Yeah, and this all comes after soft capture of the Crew Dragon vehicle happened at 8:01 p.m. Pacific time tonight, 11:01 p.m. Eastern time. Crew Dragon and the International Space Station flying 262 statute miles over Idaho.
Houston Station, safety ground 2, 3 different folders of Dragon approach photos are available for you on SSC 8.
Copy. Okay, we'll take a look at SSC 8. Look forward to looking at those photos.
I think there's some pretty nice ones there. You guys are going to like it.
It is known objectively to be a very good-looking vehicle.
absolutely concur. Cell station on Space to Ground 2, are you okay with the Node 2 high def or standard def cameras for the setup for ISS Experience Record? I'll do it in front of the cameras, that way we don't have to change the view that we've gotten prepped for PAO setup.
And we're checking, standby.
Dragon at 4.400, ready to report states of charge, when ready for the crew tablets. Okay, SpaceX tablet states of charge, Commander 42, MS1 45, MS2 Tree 9er, and PLT 69%. And MS2 is Tree 39er, 39.
Station Huntsville on Space to Ground 2 for Kate and video.
PN2.
Good morning, Kate. We think that's a good view for now. We may need you to make some adjustments once you get into the activity.
Okay, copy, thanks.
Dragon Houston on Space Ground 2 for comm check. Dragon Houston on the big loop for comm check.
And Houston, this is Dragon on the big loop contract.
We have you loud and clear.
And say again for Dragon on the big loop.
Houston, we were just giving you a comm check. We have you loud and clear.
Okay, we have you loud and clear as well.
Dragon SpaceX on Space to Ground 2, comm check.
And SpaceX, this is Dragon on Space to Ground 2. We have you loud and clear.
Excellent. Excellent. I have you the same. And do we have your permission to come back on board with video?
Negative at this time. We are still doing some configuration inside.
Totally fine. Sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And just to let you know as well, we are not hearing any echoes on board at this time.
Copy. That's a good data point. Thank you.
Station on Space to Ground 2. If you guys need a view of the ISS experience setup, I can move the node to SD cam a little bit. I just would rather not move the HD cam. We got that all set up and did scene of waste checks yesterday.
And we copy, Kate. Stand by. I think we're going to have an input for you.
This is a live look inside the International Space Station, and we have been covering the arrival of the Crew Dragon Crew 1 mission. Now having arrived at the International Space Station, docking coming at 8:01 p.m. Pacific Time, 11:01 p.m. Eastern Time, as the International Space Station was flying 262 statute miles over Idaho. And since that time, there have been several steps through which the Crew Dragon crew and the crew aboard the International Space Station, Kate Rubins, as you see here, they need to step through those before we can welcome the crew aboard. Kate Rubins first opened that impasse hatch on the International Space Station in Node 2, or sorry, the PMA hatch, the pressurized mating adapter. And she is inside that right now, and right behind her is the APAS hatch. She worked to pressurize the vestibule. The vestibule is a space between the APAS hatch on the station side and Dragon's hatch. Previously, before Dragon docked, the APAS hatch was exposed to the vacuum of space, and so we wanted to pressurize that area, make it the same pressure as the space station and Crew Dragon. So we can open that and begin welcoming our crew members aboard. So the vestibule has been pressurized. We'll see her do some work on the space station APAS hatch. Once it's open, she'll remove the docking target that the Crew Dragon vehicle used to locate and align itself with Node 2. Eventually, we will see the crew members come through the Crew Dragon hatch after that is opened. In the meantime, they've been doffing or taking off their spacesuits, getting into their comfortable clothes, stowing some things that they've been using for the journey. With the pressurization of the vestibule, we do a thermal stabilization check, meaning we hold for about 30 minutes to make sure temperatures aren't fluctuating in the vestibule area, which could give us misleading data, leading us to believe that the pressure itself is changing, but it sounds like everything has been holding steady. We're one step closer to being able to welcome the crew members aboard the International Space Station. Also coming up later tonight, we will have a welcome ceremony with the crew. They'll be speaking with teams on the ground. And this arrival kicks off a 6-month mission for the crew members. Our crew of 4, Commander Mike Hopkins, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Shannon Walker, and our international partner, Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Soichi Noguchi.
Station Houston, Space Ground 2 for Kate.
Hey, with you on 2.
Okay, while we are troubleshooting the ISS experience here on the ground, you are go for Dragon Ingress Part 2.
That's excellent. I just opened it. All right, copy go for the Ingress Part 2, and I am stepping in on step 3.1. Do I have a go for the APAS equalization valve open?
And that's correct, Kate, your go.
Go, thanks.
Heard Kate Rubins speaking with the Capcom in Mission Control Houston, discussing troubleshooting the ISS experience. That is a payload allowing them to record what's happening aboard the International Space Station. Obviously, we have these views here, but that is a special payload. So they were just working on getting those views up.
equalization valve is open.
Houston copies.
So Kate just opened up the equalization valve, and this will let air in to the vestibule from the space station. We'll be monitoring.
I'll wait for your go in step 3.2 since you've got better insight.
And we are equalized. You are go.
Go.
And that was confirmation that the pressure is now equal between the vestibule and the space station. So we're getting very, very close to this hatch opening, step by step, but almost there.
Sounds like we're running about 15 minutes ahead in the process as well, so that's good news too. Coming up on about, since our crew launched at 7:27 p.m. Eastern time yesterday, coming up on about 29 hours since their launch, and their journey began in the Crew Dragon vehicle.
Houston station on safety ground 2, step 3.3, GMT 524.
Copy 524.
Kate Rubins is in the pressurized mating adapter, now working on the A-pass hatch. She is installing a tool on the hatch that's used to open it. As we heard earlier, the pressure is equal, or the space between the A-pass hatch and the Crew Dragon hatch is pressurized. Once Kate Rubins opens the A-Pass hatch, she may get a look at the crew. There is a small window on the forward hatch of Dragon underneath the nose cone. During DM2, I believe we got a peek at Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley inside Crew Dragon after it had docked through that very window. Meanwhile, Kate Rubins taking some pictures to share with the ground later. These are still very new operations for the International Space Station, and so gathering this data and relaying it to the ground helps inform future spaceflight.
Houston Station 2, stepping into 3.6 for A-Pass hatch open.
Copy all.
Kate Rubins is following some standard procedures, and that is what she is confirming with the ground in Houston. And even those photos are a part of those standard procedures.
Houston Station 2, confirm this is a pull straight out for the A-Pass hatch.
You are correct, Kate, and it usually does take a bit of a pull.
All right, I didn't want to put force into the system unless you guys were expecting it, but it is definitely got some good self-sealing there from the vacuum.
We are with you.
Kate Rubins now preparing to open that A-Pass hatch, making sure what she's experiencing is nominal. The ground confirms it may be a little tough to open up that hatch.
This is the whole call Houston and check before you deadlift it up. It's open.
Copy all.
Rubins confirming the A-Pass hatch is open, and now we can see it for ourselves. Taking a look inside with the flashlight. She will also remove that docking target that Crew Dragon used to align itself with Node 2 when making its approach earlier today.
And a really cool shot from Dragon, seeing Kate inside of that vestibule. Kate saying hi to the world.
Just getting in there, getting a good look at the hatch seals, looking for any condensation before they proceed.
Houston Station on Space to Ground 2 in step 4.1. The APAS hatch is open, and the pressure, the IDA vestibule does not have any condensation upon inspection. Looks pretty nice. The last time I saw it was the outside of the IDA vestibule, and there appear to be 4 smiling crew members on the other side.
Copy. All configuration as expected.
And as Liam mentioned, she was able to get a glimpse inside of Dragon at the 4 crew members waiting to board the International Space Station.
Ruben's reporting everything looks good, and the next step is to remove that docking target that you see hanging down right there. It'll get that out of the way and prevent anybody from maybe bumping into it. Once she's stowed that docking target, we'll get ready for Dragon hatch equalization. That'll equalize the pressure between Dragon and the station, and then the moment we've been waiting for, we will open the Crew Dragon hatch, welcome those 4 crew members to their new home for the next 6 months. As Rubens works to open that hatch, we are transitioning over from TDRS satellites, that's tracking data and relay satellite system. The International Space Station goes through these handovers periodically. They are tracked by the ground, and we should regain video communications with them shortly. Just a reminder of everything that Crew Dragon has experienced on its journey to the International Space Station after lifting off from Kennedy Space Center yesterday at 7:27 p.m. Eastern Time. The crew conducted their first burn. Well, I can't say the crew conducted it, but Crew Dragon conducted the first burn last night and then moved on to get a little bit of sleep. So they got a good sleep period until this morning. We had some burns in between that the Crew Dragon computer determined that were needed to keep us on course. Completed the other 4 major burns today. That took us out of the rendezvous phase of the mission and then into the approach phase, which is where we've been for the last few hours. We completed the approach initiation burn, approach out of plane burn, and the approach initiation mid-course maneuver, and all of these lined us up exactly where we needed to be.
And that led us into finally approaching for docking, doing a soft capture, followed by a hard capture with those 12 hooks, hooks attaching to the International Space Station, and then finally arriving at the space station and completing docking. And right now, Kate is helping with getting the hatch ready, almost ready for hatch open for Dragon. She was able to get a peek inside through the window at the on the hatch of the crew members on board, and shortly we'll see them ingress the space station.
Absolutely, and it's been about 27 and a half hours of free flight time, well, I should say since liftoff. So it has been quite a journey for our crew members. I know they must be excited to have arrived to the space station, and the entire journey was autonomous.
For the snack bags, there are the decent snack bags still remaining for decent. We only consume the ascent snack bags.
Copy. That is a great confirmation. Thanks so much. That's all I needed.
And that was just the Crew Dragon crew doing inventory aboard their spacecraft. We've mentioned a couple of times everything is meticulously tracked when you're in space, and so that includes any meals that are eaten, any items that are used, and any hardware that's being stowed. We want to make sure we know where it is.
This is what the crew was doing as they are waiting for Kate to finish up her procedures on the space station side. The crew, after they docked, they were able to get out of their suits, get their suits drying, and complete their inventory check as they wait for that hatch to open up.
And the most recent thing we saw, Kate Rubins, like I mentioned, this was an autonomous mission. The crew did not have to fly Crew Dragon. It flew itself completely all the way to the International Space Station. There's Kate Rubins, a view from the Dragon spacecraft itself. She's configuring the APAS hatch, putting the cover on top of the APAS hatch, and you can see she's removed that docking target that the spacecraft used to align and dock with the International Space Station.
Dragon at SpaceX on Dragon to ground. For your awareness, we are about to take down the S-band path, so from this point forward, please use the ISS Big Loop Space to Ground 2 path for all communication.
Again, if you're just now joining us right now, what you're seeing on your screen is a view from Dragon looking into the space station with Kate Rubins preparing for the crew to come on board. She's getting everything set up inside of this vestibule area prior to opening up the Dragon hatch.
Dragon SpaceX on Dragon to ground for a comm check.
we have you loud and clear on Dragon to ground.
Awesome. We just wanted to let you know that we are about to take down the S-band path, which will take down our Dragon to ground voice communication. So from this point forward, please use the big loop.
We think you called that up a second ago. Maybe you didn't hear Shannon.
Yes, I think your call must have just dropped off. Thanks for confirming.
Now with some communication from the team here in Hawthorne, speaking with the crew aboard Crew Dragon, letting them know they are switching their telemetry or their sound communications lines with them. They'll now be communicating via the loops on the International Space Station. Kate Rubins finishing up installing the APAS hatch cover. Coming up next, we'll be looking for Dragon hatch equalization, equalizing the pressure between Crew Dragon and the International Space Station, and then it will be time to welcome our 4 new crew members aboard.
Thanks, Dragon, on the big loop. We forgot to tell you, you can come back on board.
We copy. Thank you so much. You just saw Kate Rubins installing the IMV duct, that's intermodule ventilation. That'll make sure the Crew Dragon is sharing the same air with the International Space Station, making sure that that's all being circulated in and out of the vehicle.
calls we'll be listening for is that station is ready for Dragon hatch equalization, meaning we want to equalize the pressure between Dragon and the space station. Once we get the go for that, we will stand by for that equalization, and then we will see hatch opening.
Houston and Moscow, station is ready for Dragon hatch equalization. Sorry, not Moscow, SpaceX.
And SpaceX, this is Dragon, 6.1 of 4.400. Dragon is ready for hatch equalization.
SpaceX copies.
ISS and Dragon, stand by for equalization, expected to take 5 minutes. Additionally, please note that we will be hot mic'd for the duration of ingress. Finally, for you, Kate, if you could please meet PACOM on Space to Ground 3, we have additional troubleshooting steps for you.
Okay, copy. And my apologies to SpaceX. I came up in a different vehicle, but I'm really excited to see this one, and I'm switching over to Space to Ground 3.
And the call we were looking for, that the International Space Station is ready for Dragon hatch equalization. We'll want to equalize the pressure between Crew Dragon and the International Space Station. It should take about 5 minutes. And then what we'll be looking for next is for Dragon hatch to open.
And the sensors on Dragon will actually be what we'll check to make sure that that pressure is good before we open that hatch. But if all goes well, sounds like we're 5 minutes away.
This also aligns us pretty well with our projection that it should take about 2 hours to move through these steps, anything from hatch openings to leak checks, vestibule pressurization.
And as a reminder, once the Dragon hatch does open and the 4 crew members do ingress on the space station, there will be a welcome ceremony where the folks on board station will join those 4 crew members, welcoming them on board.
We heard Kate Rubins discussing, yes, she came up on a different vehicle. She arrived on a Russian Soyuz. Her Russian counterparts on the International Space Station are Sergei Ryzhikov and Sergei Kutsverchkov. They may join for the welcome as well. I'm sure they'll be very excited to greet their new crew members.
We are just a few minutes away from that pressure equalization between Dragon and the station.
This is Mission Control Houston. The team here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room has been following along all night. They're coming to the end of their shift as we near the opening of the hatch on the SpaceX Dragon. Kate Rubins has been working steadily through the procedure on her side of the hatch while the Crew Dragon crew members do their part on the other side. So we are expecting to see that just in the next few minutes. Scheduled to take place at 12:10 a.m. Central Time, but could be a little early. And once we do see all of the crew members on board together, we'll be ready to go into our welcoming ceremony that will be following that. taking part in that welcoming ceremony, we are going to have the NASA Associate Administrator for Human Exploration and Operations Mission Directorate, Kathy Leaders, and the JAXA, or the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency President, Dr. Yamakawa Hiroshi. They will be talking with the crew as part of the welcoming ceremony as the Crew Dragon members, that's Mike Hopkins, Victor Glover, Shannon Walker, and Soichi Noguchi, join the Expedition 64 crew for the first time. Expecting that hatch opening to come any time now, and since Kate Rubins has been working speedily through her side of the procedures. This is only the second time we've opened a hatch on a Crew Dragon with people inside from the International Space Station, so still nailing down exactly how long it takes for the crew to complete these procedures, and like we said, getting through it a little earlier than expected tonight. Shortly after the welcoming ceremony begins, the team here in Mission Control Houston will be handing over to their Orbit 1 counterparts, wrapping up their part in the arrival of the Dragon at the International Space Station. And of course, following the festivities, we'll have one final news conference to wrap up the activities tonight.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. You are go for hatch opening per your decal, followed by the remaining actions in procedure 4.400, section 6.
Dragon copies. And hatch open per the decal and remaining steps in section 6 of 4.400.
Here, they have the team on the ground giving the crew on board the Crew Dragon the go to open their side of the hatch, which is what we've been waiting for. So we should be seeing them floating through across the threshold to the International Space Station momentarily. For Mike Hopkins, Shannon Walker, and Soichi Noguchi, this will be a return visit to the International Space Station. Mike was there in 2014 for Expedition 3738 when he spent 166 days.
SpaceX, this is Dragon on the big loop, 6.6, 4.400, hatch is open.
We copy, hatch open, great to hear.
And as you can see, they do have that hatch open now. They called down that came right at 12:02 a.m. Central Time. Hatches between the two vehicles open. Now we're just waiting for the crew to head to the International Space Station. Looks like they are waving hello to their new crewmates now. Also seeing here for the first time tonight the Roscosmos members of the crew. Sergei Ryzhikov, who is the commander of Expedition 64, and Sergei Kudzverchkov.
And Houston, this is Dragon on the Big Loop. INV duct installation is complete. You are go for INV fan activation.
Houston copies.
Crew finishing up some intra-module ventilation work there, getting air flowing between the space station and the Crew Dragon before they do make their way across the hatch. But again, that hatch is open now. That came at 12:02 a.m. Central Time. As I was saying a moment ago, this will be Mike Hopkins' second visit to the International Space Station. He was last there in 2014. Same for Shannon Walker. She was there in 2010 for Expedition 24 and 25 and spent 163 days on board the space station. Soichi Noguchi has been to the space station twice before for STS-114 in 2005 and in 2009 for Expedition 22 and 23. He's got 177 days already in space. But this will be the first time for Victor Glover to pass across the hatch and visit the International Space Station, kicking off their months-long stay in space when the space station will, for the first time, have 7 crew members on board for a full expedition.
Station Houston on Space Ground 2, you are go in step 6.3.
from Dragon. Was that a go for us to continue?
You are correct, Hopper. That's your go in step 6.3.
Copy, inward.
Crew 1 crew members are working on a few final activities inside the Crew Dragon before they do make their way to the International Space Station. Making sure any loose items are stowed securely, and then also putting away the liquid LiO cartridges that they use to scrub carbon dioxide out of the air while they're on their way to the space station. Now that they are at the space station, they don't need those any longer because they'll use the space station system for that. Again, these are just the last few items before they'll be able to ingress the space station.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop for LiO.
SpaceX here.
Yeah, just a question. Just want to confirm that you are supposed to put LiO cartridge 1, our original cartridge, into the active slot.
That is affirmed. That is what we want you to do, please.
Okay, thanks. And just so you know, we've got the echo.
Copy.
Shannon Walker there reporting down to the ground on the crew members' progress. Again, walking through just a few final items before they come on board the International Space Station for the first time on this mission. Again, they're putting away some lithium hydroxide canisters that were used to scrub carbon dioxide out of the crew members' air. No longer needed now that the Dragon is at the International Space Station. Seeing two-thirds of the current Expedition 64 crew here. Kate Rubins, of course, with NASA, and then the Expedition Commander, Sergei Ryzhikov, there on the right side of the screen. They, along with Sergei Kuznetsov, have all been at the space station since October 14th. Now waiting to greet the 4 new members of the expedition that will be joining them any moment. And there they are, first across the hatch, Mike Hopkins. And here's Victor Glover. You heard the crew here, the team here in Mission Control cheering to see them come across the hatch. There's Shannon Walker. And finally, Soichi Noguchi bringing up the rear. 4 new members, bringing the total Expedition 64 crew to a total of 7. Ready to increase the space station science and get to work.
Houston Station on Spacer Ground 2, ready for scene and voice checks.
And we're ready.
Copy, let me know about scene and I'll give you a voice countdown.
And we are here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne. You've got a view of Mission Control Houston, or Mission Control Hawthorne right there on your screen. And we just saw the major event of the night.
The crew has finally come on board the International Space Station. A lot of smiles, a lot of hugs. The welcome ceremony is
Houston,
coming.
did you copy the wireless mic?
Station Houston, that's a good scene check. We're checking something here on audio, so stand by for another countdown.
Okay, sounds good. And let me know about lighting. I've got a work light, so I can move that as needed.
And lighting looks good, Kate. And if you could just do a quick 5 count, we'll do a quick audio check.
Copy and work.
These voice checks you're hearing coming from NASA astronaut Kate Rubins, now joined by 4 new crew members aboard the International Space Station, along with her 2 crewmates from Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, and they are setting up for the welcome ceremony.
Good countdown, thanks.
So we are standing by for that welcome ceremony coming up just a few minutes from now.
Yeah, and you can hear them getting ready. They're doing all their formal checks, mic checks, to get ready to bring the crew and welcome them on board. Very excited to see this. We already saw how excited the crew members were to get on board station. I can't wait to hear them talk in a few minutes here.
Yeah, absolutely. After their 27.5-hour journey to the International Space Station, finally making it to that destination, and they docked tonight at 8:01 p.m. Pacific time, 11:01 p.m. Eastern time, right on time, essentially, at the Node 2 port aboard the International Space Station, and now they will be there for about a 6-month mission.
Station Houston on Space Ground 2 for Kate. We had to do a quick reconfiguration here on the ground. Do you mind doing one more 5 count on the wireless mic? Or anyone can do a 5 count. Or anyone can do a 5 count.
Station, I'm ready for another 5 count.
On the wireless mic, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And that was the best 5 count of them all. Hey.
For those who've still been hanging with us, we are now coming up on the time for our hatch opening or welcome ceremony. That is scheduled for 12:40, about 5 minutes from now, and at that time, the entire crew will be joining on the with a couple of special guests from the ground. That's going to be NASA Associate Administrator for Human Exploration and Operations, Mission Directorate, Kathy Leaders, joining here from Houston. And then from Scuba Japan, we're going to have the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency President, Dr. Yamakawa Hiroshi, joining as well. They'll be taking part in the welcoming ceremony, which is coming up in just 5 minutes now. The crew's done the necessary checkouts on board, so we'll just wait for everybody to gather before we begin that. Crew members gathering as promised for the welcome ceremony, which is now just moments away from beginning.
Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event? Houston, are you ready for the event?
At Houston, this is Station. We are ready for the event.
Mr. Morhard, please call station for a voice check. Miss Leaders, please call station for a voice check.
Hi, this is Kathy Leaders. Here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston.
How do you hear me?
How do you hear me?
Hello, Kathy. We hear you loud and clear.
Wow, I can't tell you how great it was to see you all come across the hatch.
It means a lot to me.
Just means a lot to me.
On behalf of the
joint SpaceX and NASA team, who you know have expended a lot of blood, sweat, and tears,
and our nation who's been following along with you as you guys have been going on your journey.
I can't tell you how proud we are of you, and how much we want to congratulate you.
Mission. It's been really cool to watch you.
Well, thank you, Kathy. We just want to say thank you to everybody, SpaceX, NASA, the DoD, just all across the nation. It's been an incredible journey, and it's really amazing that this is marking the start of operational crew rotation missions to the International Space Station from the Florida coast, and so it was an amazing ride. I can't tell you how excited we were when that rocket lifted off the pad, and then the last 27 hours has gone really smooth, actually. And so we are so excited to be here. We are humbled, and we are excited to be a part of this great expedition. And so we are looking forward to the next 6 months and can't wait to get started.
Yeah, thank you for letting me get to say hello to you all and being there a little bit on station with you all. And I just want to tell you how proud we are of you. We're expecting a lot from you, a lot of good work up there. Not only are we proud in this nation of you, but our international partners are extremely proud of you. And I know I have some folks in Japan that also want to give you some greetings. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Mission Control.
Thank you, Ms. Leaders. We now welcome JAXA President Dr. Yamakawa Hiroshi to provide remarks. Dr. Yamakawa, please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Yamakawa. How do you hear me?
Yamakawa-san, we hear you loud and clear. This is International Space Station.
Thank you, Noguchi-san. We were very much excited about your launch this morning. It inspired courage and delight of all Japanese citizens to bear up COVID-19 pandemic. Anyway, I really feel relieved by your safe arrival to the station now. Noguchi-san, it is very significant for JAXA that you are on board the first operational spacecraft of Crew Dragon and was launched from the American soil. I believe that this is the outcome of the long-standing partnership with NASA and all the other international partners. I also believe that your efforts at ISS from today will take on more importance on the ISS utilization and operations, and for future international space exploration beyond the low Earth orbit to the Moon and Mars. We are always behind you. Good luck and enjoy your time in space. Noguchi-san, 皆さん全集中で頑張ってください。
Thank you, Dr. Yamakawa. Thank you for the kind words. And we are very humble and happy to be here. This is the first operational flight of the Crew Dragon. And I took 27 hours, but we enjoy every moment. And from now on, we are part of this great expedition crew member, Expedition 64. We have a lot of utilization ahead of us, and we are ready to work. 日本の皆さん、そして山川理事長、本当にありがとうございます。この ISS にまた戻ってくることができてとても、感無量です。日本の皆さん、そして世界中の皆さん、今年は、コロナはじめ非常に厳しい状況があったかと思いますけれども、この困難に打ち勝つという気持ちで我々もレジリエンスと名前をつけて、頑張ってきています。理事長おっしゃられた通り全集中で頑張りたいと思います。応援本当にありがとうございます。
Thank you, Ms. Leaders and Dr. Yamakawa, for your participation in the Crew 1 welcome ceremony. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communication.
Wow. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this coverage of our commercial crew mission, the Crew 1 mission aboard Crew Dragon to the International Space Station.
We watched them all the way from suit up yesterday to ingress on the vehicle, liftoff at 7:27 p.m. Eastern Time. First stage, giving them a ride into orbit as it returned back to Earth and landed on Just Read the Instructions, to Dragon separation yesterday and nose cone deploy, to today through all the Dragon burns, 5 major burns on Dragon, and docking as well as ingress onto the station. On behalf of SpaceX and NASA, thank you for watching today's webcast and for your interest in this exciting, historic mission. Now that Dragon has reached the International Space Station, it will spend approximately 6 months docked there until it's time for Crew 1 to return home via splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean.
When it's time for Dragon to make its way home, we will be broadcasting its return from departure through to recovery live on SpaceX.com and NASA TV. Coming up next, we are going to have a post-docking news conference live from the Johnson Space Center, so stick around and hear from some of the key members of the NASA, SpaceX, and JAXA teams on this historic mission. Be sure to follow SpaceX and NASA on social media for real-time updates. We can't say enough what an honor it was to be part of this mission, how excited we are for Crew 1 for NASA and SpaceX. Thank you again for watching.